right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and you guys can see that was the chat room. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the analysis, the morning analysis. And so let's well, we got to pull up the bias chart first. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and let's go with the euro dollar. So the euro dollar question is, what happens here? What are we going to do here? Now, the euro, we took out an uptrend line. So you notice how we had this nice tidy uptrend line on an hourly basis. Now, also I want to take a step back really quick and show you what I was looking at yesterday afternoon on the Lunch Money webinar. We are on the Lunch Money webinar, and you know, people were asking me, you know, Blake, should we short the euro here? I'm like, listen, if you're going to play the dollar long, shorting the euro or the pound makes sense, but you got to be careful of shorting any of the commodity currencies, because the commodity currencies are actually showing some signs of strength. And you know, fortunately, you know, that worked out really well. It's just from yesterday afternoon when I popped on the Lunch Money webinar for a half an hour. The euro dollar is down 124 pips. The Aussie and the Kiwi are up 70 and 50, and the British pound, the cable, excuse me, is only up 6 pips. So you can see that divergence in those currencies worked out pretty well. And I think that the euro, you know, was finding some pretty key resistance up here. Now the question that I'm going to have moving forward is, how low can we go? You know, how far can we pull back? And so you can see that if we do hit new lows on the day, which would be this 114.60, then I think it's going to kick off a much deeper retracement. Now that is a 38% retracement, or close to, would be 114.50 from the move higher. Okay, if you go from the actual lows, pretty darn close, but that 114.50 is going to be really key support today. So I'm going to write that down. That is a 38% retracement. We get below that, and that exposes a move maybe down even towards 113. Okay, so 114.50 is key support today for bulls. 114.50. Okay. Resistance is depends what we're doing here. You know, what could very easily be happening right now, so we could be flagging, or like a, you know, maybe a descending wedge, something that looks like this. It's entirely possible. So from here, a move up to 1540 should find resistance, okay, on rallies, but we'll see. 1540. Okay. As long as we are above, see, we're just right back below 115 right now. It's tough, man. It's tough. We can't sustain, or we're not sustaining above 115. At least we're trying to. Like if we roll over today and we go, we're just heading back into the range. You know, if we can close the day above 115, I think this is going to turn to a bullish trend. You know, but we're having a tough time. I mean, look, we close above 115. Obviously, we're pulling back today. If we can't hold above 115 today, we close the day below 115, we're just back in the range environment. So I'm just going to keep us in the range here. It's just if we close back above 115 today, that's going to pop us into a bullish trend going into tomorrow. Okay? All right. Here's the pound. So the pound is in a range. We popped through resistance, though, at 157. Okay. Got a little strength there. Hit the 158 level, which is a 786. We spiked above some of this resistance. And it looks like we're having now a very difficult time above 158. So 158.20 is going to be resistance today. 158.17, which is 158. I'll just put 158.15. Okay. We're still in a range. The breakout's been very limited. I think one of the reasons why the cable's so strong is just because the euro's been so strong. So it's been, as I blogged about it yesterday, it's just been kind of dragged higher by the euro. I just don't know if it's going to be able to sustain if the euro starts to pull back. Right now, support should be very, very well, very, very strong on dips down to 157. So any dip down, as a matter of fact, 157.20 should offer some really great support. Like I said, I've got a bid at that price. I'm trying to get out of my short in the cable, but 157.20, like, I'm stuck short. I'm just trying to get out of it now. $157.20 should offer support. Okay. Let's go over to the Swissy. Like I said, I'm out of my Swissy now. The Swissy, though, we're coming close to the 38% retracement, which comes in right here. This is of the drop from the peak before we rolled over right here to the low. The 38% retracement comes in at 94.60, and we have horizontal resistance. Now, like I said, I was skeptical on this move up into the above 20 where we're currently at. So I decided just to get out of my long dollar Swiss, and my cost average was near 95 cents. So I ended up taking a loss, and it was a little bit bigger position than my Euro Swiss. That's why overall net negative in the Swiss pairs as I exited them. However, I still think that we're going to struggle here, and the markets are rallying, and the way the markets have recovered, the equity markets have recovered, I thought the dollar Swiss would have done a little better, and it just hasn't. So watch for this resistance here at 94.60. Okay, we're in a big, big, big range. I mean, you can see it. Huge range. Oh yeah, this I was happy about that held. I was really keeping an eye on that trend line support over the last 48 hours or so. So anyway, now on dips, if 94.60 is going to offer resistance, on dips it looks like this is very well supported. That previous resistance, that is actually hourly support, that comes in at 93, let's call it 93.75. Okay, that should be support on dips. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the dollar yen. So the dollar yen, we recovered back above 120, but I'll tell you. Okay, let's take a step back for a second. So if you look at the weekly chart and you see these spikes right through here, these spike lows go all the way back to the end of 2014. We basically spiked to that level and bounced back. I mean, bounced aggressively back to 120. But I'm looking at the dollar yen, and frankly, I think it's probably a decent short pretty soon. So like any move up to here, which should be 120, Previous support right here. So any move up to 120.70 is going to find some pretty good resistance. The low over here was 72. So 120.70 will be resistance. And I think you want to sell into that, frankly. But we're in a real big range, 120.70. Well, actually, let me take that back. She was so low here. 2040? Did we just spike up to there? Oh, crap. We did. Shoot. That's 120.40, guys. Okay. We're actually in a bearish trend here. Okay. Bearish. Coming right into the key resistance. If you're looking to sell the dollar yen, 120, if you can get maybe 120.25 this morning, if, as stocks are grinding higher, try to get a price up there. Probably not a bad place to be on the short side of the dollar yen. This is a bearish trend. Support 119.35. Maybe 119. What is it? What are these lows? 119.40. Okay. Yeah, 119.40 or so. And like I said, if you get an opportunity to short the dollar yen closer to like 120.25, 120.30, probably not a bad place to be on the short side there. All right, let's look at the dollar Canadian. What a mess, huh? Okay, so let's talk about the dollar Canadian for a second. Crude oil's got a lift off of its lows, and you notice how we got really close. We're getting really close to that 161% extension. I mean, that comes in at 133.40. That's actually 134, I believe, close to 134. Really big resistance up there. All right. So dips down to 130. This is obviously the monthly breakout point. So dips down to 130.60 will be supported. Resistance is, this most recent high, which is 132, basically 133. I don't know what you'd want to do right in the middle of this range. It looks extremely choppy. I mean, maybe some resistance up here into 132.50. Support's going to be right through here at 131.50. Maybe a little lower than that. Right through here, 131.35. So, I mean, believe it or not, it's still in a bullish trend. It's kind of a crazy thing to trade right now. 132.50, 131.35. Oops. Still in a bullish trend. It's just choppy as all get out. But the trend is still bullish here. So All right. Let's look at the, let's go into the Kiwi. All right, so here's your Kiwi dollar. Now the Kiwi, okay, this move yesterday was real, and that's the point I wanted to make yesterday. That move that we saw yesterday, this spike, that was a real move, and it lasted, you know, not too long, maybe just a few minutes, but we did spike down there. And so because we closed back above 64 cents, I mean, I think while it's above 64 cents, there's a good chance of a reversal. Now, what we've got here is an inverted head and shoulder pattern. You can see it very clear, right? Inverted head and shoulder pattern. Especially if you undo that one 5-minute, 3-minute move lower, it's nice. Okay. Question is, do we I guess it's a break above today's highs, which comes in at 65.50. Is that what it is? 59, so 65.60. Okay, a move above 65.60, and we should get a pretty good momentum going. So 65.60. I want to put it in an asterisk there. We are still in a bearish trend. I'm sorry. You know what? We're well, God, you know what? I think I'm just going to put it as more of a range because, I mean, if you look at what we've been doing here, even though we had this plunge yesterday, that looks to me like it's going to keep it in the range. So, all right, support on dips, 64.80. Okay, so 64.80 on dips should be pretty well supported. 0.6480. All right, let's take a look at the Aussie dollar. Now the Aussie dollar, you can see how this Chinese, the news out of China, well, limited impact. And the Aussie, very similar to the Kiwi, we spiked down and came right back. Now, notice where we went in the Aussie dollar. Okay, this is a weekly chart, so obviously there's a lot of time left in the week. But we spiked down through this trendline support, and that didn't transfer over correctly. We spiked through this trendline support, and then we pop right back up again. And like I said, that spike was real. So the question is, if we rally here, is it gonna allow for a bounce? I mean, very similar to the Kiwi. If you kind of get rid of this spike, that could be like a inverted head and shoulders forming. But I think we need to get above 72.75 to really get this thing moving. 72.75, it's resistance. And and also with that being said, going back over to this chart, so here's that spike lower and then that hold, but notice the fib confluence, 618, 786. We all are hitting that support pretty clearly. So as long as this support holds, we could see a bounce. These are pretty key levels. I don't know if the Aussie's out of the woods, but it's probably these are places where it could stage some sort of recovery rally. Um, all right, support. Whatever the spike low down here is, 71.70. Okay. Now, when I come back, we're going to do the dollar index, and we're going to take a look at the peso, the Swedish krona, Norwegian krona. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. So let's go ahead and take a look at the dollar index. All right, so this is what we got in the dollar index. And, first of all, let me delete this fib. Let me get rid of that really quick. And let's zoom in here and take a really good look at what we're dealing with. So this double top played out. So that's overdone with, okay, obviously. We had a triangle. Okay, a triangle, and we broke through that triangle. We busted out to the downside. Now, what I did do is I took this line, duplicated it, and put it here. Now, the reason why I did that is because, all in all, I mean, if you look at the structure of the U.S. dollar. Okay, I know everybody's bearish. Oh, the Fed's not going to raise rates, and da da da. They're worried about market volatility, yada yada yada. But frankly, it is a really strong move, and we're coming off through the triangle. We broke through that support. I actually thought that support would hold, and obviously it didn't yesterday. Plowed through, bounced back today, but I have to imagine dips are still going to be pretty well supported. So if you look at like let's just go put in a fib really quick. Let's go from the low to the high. The 38% retracement comes in at 92. Now, I personally think that, like this spike, I think we can revisit those levels. I think the euro can still go up from here. Okay, I do. All right. The thing is how much more does the euro have? And this 38% retracement, which would take us down towards 92 on the dollar index, it looks entirely possible. Now, will we go there? Will we dip all the way down there? I'm not too sure. But what I will tell you is I do think it is possible. And if we get down there, I will be a buyer. When we got down to this trendline support yesterday, I'm actually kind of fortunate that my internet was down, because I probably would have been buying dollars Sunday night. If I had a good view of like charts, I probably would have gotten hit, buying some dollars here and there, but I didn't. So maybe it was worked out to my benefit that I didn't have internet and I couldn't see a big picture view of the dollar index, because I probably would have bought the dollar, got run over on Sunday night, is what I'm trying to tell you. So, but again, this right here, this horizontal support, let's do it like this. Okay, that horizontal support is holding thus far, and so any dips now down to there are going to be supported, which will be, let's just call it 92.90. Resistance all the way back up to 94, maybe 94.50. If you're looking for a sell in the dollar, let the euro dip a little bit more and then sell into that strength. So 94, probably 94.50 or so, be good resistance. 94.50. We're in a big range, and support, I just said 92, right? Oops. 92.90. Okay. All right. Now let's take a look at the peso. Now, One of the reasons why the peso I've been watching it really closely is because a lot of people have been watching the Euro CNH. I've been watching the Euro Mexican peso. The peso is a interesting currency pair because this represents a lot of emerging market currencies, and that same squeeze that you're seeing in the Euro CNH, you're seeing it in the Euro peso as well. The peso is really underperformed because of crude oil. Along with other emerging market currencies, and the dollar and everything else has been strengthening quite aggressively, or excuse me, the euro has been strengthening quite aggressively against the Mexican peso as the carry trade. You know, everybody keeps calling it the carry trade unwind. Listen, I don't think there's a whole lot of carry. That's why I don't know how much juice is left in the euro's tank from a squeeze perspective. It's just more of a bad positioning. You know, there was some carry trades. Obviously, they're getting unwound, but I don't think the carry was so attractive that the positioning was really huge in carry trades. So, but that's why I was watching the Euro Mexican peso, because if the Euro Mexican peso rolled over, then that was going to, you know, give the euro some downside. And you can see the Euro MXN. Look at it over the last couple of days, last 24 hours rather. It's had a very similar move to the euro. So you see the euro Mexican peso, it pulled back. The euro dollar pulled back, very similar. So what I'm trying to say to you is that if stocks continue to bounce, the peso will continue to pull back. But, or excuse me, if stocks rally, we'll continue to pull back here in the peso. But if the stock market starts to roll over again, we're going to get a bounce right back in the U.S. dollar, Mexican peso, and look at, I mean, look at how bullish this is. It's a runaway freight train. It really is. Okay. So anyway, I can't trade it anyway. I'm just keeping a really close eye on it. But for those of you that can, if the stock market rallies, here, I'm just going to write this down. Because if the stock market rallies from where we're currently at, so it's your 38% retracement holding. As long as we stay above 1680, let's call it 1688. So US dollar, MXN, as long as we're above 1688, it's bullish. And like I said, if the stock market goes down, okay, if the stock market goes down, this will probably bounce back. And resistance probably be somewhere up here like this. For those of you guys that can trade it, you know, you might, you know, look to go long up to about 17, let's just call it 17, 13 or so. Still bullish. Like I said, if stocks come down, this peso should rally. Like stocks are starting to show a little bit of weakness right now. Yeah, this should rally some. Okay, let's take a look at the U.S. dollar Norwegian krona. Very choppy here, but man, look at how well that thing's holding up. If the dollar ever decides it wants to rally against the euro, watch the Norwegian krona. This thing will break. I don't think there's a whole lot to do with it right now, but man, we've got to keep an eye on it. Every day we're going to keep a real close eye on it. Swedish krona. Swedish krona, it's nice how it acted because it worked perfectly, right? We had this flag pattern. Here, let me delete this. So we had this flag pattern, perfect execution yesterday. We noticed it yesterday morning and said, man, that was perfect, right? We were like, holy cow, we really bounced off of there. Now, question is, what do you do here? you hit the 786 retracement. What do? I don't know, and I don't think there's any reason to really trade it at the moment. None that I can see. All right, so here's your bias chart. Go ahead and write that down, and let me go ahead and start taking some questions. I'm going to go back to the way back. So